I'm Claudine Wong, joining you from KTVU in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm joined by Margaret Patillo, who is coming to us from New York City. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're talking about photographs and beautiful photographs that we can be taken in really very interesting ways. Now, tell me first about uh, photography and your career as a photographer. What you like to shoot? You like to shoot people and products, and your portfolio is pretty
I
varied
love
and vast.
everything lifestyle related. So I shoot a lot of like celebrities, like I've done cover shoots with like Bill Murray, and then I shoot with like Lil Kim and stuff like that for events. And then do a lot of fashion and lifestyle. It's just like a whole mix of everything.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring up some photos that you have done. In terms of, every photographer has their signature in terms of is it light, is it personality? I mean, what does a Margaret Patillo photograph look like, or what do you want it to look like? And I'll pull up, we'll recognize this guy, Ben Stiller. Tell me
Oh,
about taking these pictures.
it's always been about light for me. So like when I started photography about like 10 years ago, I transitioned from seeing the world per se from color into light. So I only look at light right now, which is awesome for FaceTime photography because I get to be able to see like where light comes from, and it's much harder, but it's a good challenge.
So let's take a picture like this that you took. I mean, in terms of like the setup or really any of these beautiful photos, and you're talking about light, how much are you using in terms of the natural light? How much is it, light that you're providing to make these pictures look as beautiful as they do?
Usually if they're inside, I use like a non-natural light because obviously there's not enough light, but if I
Hmm.
have a chance to, I prefer natural light much better because it just has a better glow.
So how has life as a photographer changed with the shelter in place and with coronavirus, though? I imagine things for you, like for many people, they slowed down.
Yes, obviously, because you can't meet with anyone, you can't really talk with anyone. I considered doing like 6 feet away photo shoots, but I thought that was a little weird. So when I found these FaceTime photo shoots, it was really cool to be able to connect with people all over the world.
So let's talk about these FaceTime photo shoots. It's hard for me as a non-photographer. I mean, I love taking pictures. I love beautiful photographs. I love all of those things, but it's hard for me to imagine how they actually get done. I mean, how does this happen?
So nowadays, with a lot of the models and influencers, they all have like tripods and like light rings for their own photography. But if they don't, we get like creative. I had one of the models use a stack of Jenga to hold up her phone. I've had like some crazy stuff.
What so, in terms of why you can do this, is there something about FaceTime that allows you to take beautiful photos? Because I got to tell you, it's confusing to me on how they can look like this, and because it doesn't make, I'm saying this doesn't look like the FaceTime I operate in. I mean, these are some of the pictures which are stunning.
No, I know. I was actually stunned to find out I kind of accidentally came across it. You can take a FaceTime live photo, which I think is a newish function, and it actually sends kind of the photo from their end to my end
Hmm.
automatically to my photo album. So it doesn't matter if you have really bad connection, none of that matters. It's like really good quality every single time.
So it takes it from, is it almost like a, you know, as if they were snapping the picture and
Like
texting it to you? So it has, because I mean, that connection issue is so interesting.
yeah, no, I think it's like a Bluetooth or something where it sends
Hmm.
it from their camera, which is great. I mean,
Uh,
it's still not obviously the same amount of quality as a regular camera, but it's a lot like film photography, which I really enjoy.
So how long did it take you to do one of these and say, you know what, this actually might work? And are you doing this because you're being requested, or you're trying to just find new ways to reinvent, your business?
Well, I did it originally just to find a way to get creative during the lockdown because obviously there's not regular traditional photography going on. But
Yeah. So is this like, does she have this on a tripod, I would imagine?
no, she had this on a deck.
On a deck, and you're just communicating with her through FaceTime, telling her what to do?
Yeah, so I just direct everything. I tell them where to put the phone. I kind of have them hold it up so I can see where the light's coming from. It's pretty much the same as a regular, just a little bit slower.
And because are these all to me look like models. If people who know how to take a right? I
Yeah.
mean, how hard would it be to do it with a regular person who, or a celebrity who says, I want you to take some pictures of me, but who are used to being guided and may not know exactly the best way to take one of these pictures.
I think it actually wouldn't be that hard because I'm able to kind of tell exactly where I would put the camera and tell them, well, this is where your bed is, so let's put it a foot away from the bed. I can direct people really well through FaceTime, surprisingly. So
And I
it's
think
really
people
not
are
that.
used to taking some pictures on their own, right? So there's some natural thing of what we're used to and what we've gotten used to in terms of just at least taking selfies. I mean, these obviously no one's holding their phone. For this to work, it has to be you on one end and then propping this up somewhere either on a tripod or as you said on Jenga.
Yeah.
So, is this, do you know she was on a tripod for this one?
With this one, yes, she was on a tripod. I mean, we tried it once with someone else holding the camera as if they were me, and it
Mm-hmm.
did not work at all. It was completely blurry. It was just
Yeah, I
so.
mean, how many of these did you do before you thought, okay, I've got something here?
I think I did like one or two. I mean, I found out right away. It was really cool.
So what are you doing with these photos now? And are you getting more people requesting them, I guess is the question.
Yes, I have a bunch of requests. And what I'm doing with them, I'm just putting them on my website and putting them on Instagram. It's given me a big reach because I've photographed over 20 models, which is a combined reach of over 30 million followers. So it's been really good for branding.
Wow. And I think good for them as well. I mean, aren't you finding that people, it's not just for you, but it's also for them as we are all sheltering in place and trying to figure this out. We need an outlet to
They
figure out
keep
how to
having
see our
to post,
life.
they keep having to post content that's a like throwback or something. So at least they have something now where they're like getting creative and showing initiative to do something else.
What is the part you miss most though about the way you would have done that shoot if you are in person versus the way you have to do it now?
I miss the speed because obviously I'm able to do it much quicker, see things much better, and it's just more of a human connection. But it's being able to connect with people I probably wouldn't normally be able to connect with as I'm like photographing people in London and Germany and everywhere. So
So I wonder if, in a lot of industries we talk about as we've had to learn about a new way to do business, how much of that will stay with us after we're allowed to go back to some semblance of normal, and how much of that we will kick to the curb and say, well, I don't want to do that anymore. Where does FaceTime photographing fall into that?
I've actually seen a few brands integrate it into their content creation. And I feel like they will probably, maybe fashion brands might stick around with it a little more because it is much cheaper to produce.
Yeah.
And it's the same as like film photography. Like you can just call it art.
But quality wise, I mean, how much can you control? Obviously, your camera that you usually work with is better than someone's iPhone, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you give up in terms of quality in that sense?
I give up my file size usually for a camera is probably about 50 times bigger. So I give
Mhm.
up a lot.
Yeah. So if they wanted to blow it up. I mean, there are limitations as well. I also notice, I mean, in some of the pictures you're taking as well, it feels like if this is, and we'll pull up this, I mean, some people, this would be lingerie, this would be, in terms of that, but it feels intimate because it also feels like a FaceTime photo shoot to me is more intimate because you're in everyone's own
It is,
space.
you're in their personal space and you have to respect that and you have to respect what they want to shoot and how they want to shoot, stuff like that, and what they want to show.
Yeah, but it would also seem strange. I think as people are even doing interviews from home or hosting late night television from home, everyone's more casual too. Everyone feels like it would seem strange if she was in an evening gown, on
Exactly.
her porch or in a living room or at a park. It feels like this is what it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
We've had a couple people, we've tried a couple evening looks and it just looks so out of place.
right. It feels like this is telling a story, and when you talk about art, it's telling a story of where we are right now, sitting by our windows. I don't look like that when I sit by my window, but sitting by our windows and just you know wondering when all of this and when we'll go back to normal. um, Do you think you'll see other photographers doing this? Do you think it would be hard for a lot of other professional photographers to adapt to something like this, or
You know,
will
I've
we see
seen a
more?
bunch of photographers doing this. It's trending. It's like there's probably over 40,000 hashtags on it on Instagram over the last couple weeks alone. So it's definitely trending.
Wow. And are you enjoying it?
I love it.
Because it
Yeah,
gets you to do your art. It is certainly better, right, than sitting at home
yeah, exactly.
and dreaming of the day when the photo shoots, as we all used to know them,
When they,
would return, right?
yeah.
All right. Well, Margaret Patillo, it's such an interesting way to take a photograph. I don't think my experimentation would lead to the same results as yours, but I certainly love seeing the photos. It's beautiful, and hopefully one day, sooner than later, you'll get to do them by choice instead of by necessity, and we'll see the great works compared with your very fancy camera and our very necessary phones.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Margaret. And for more interviews, you can always go to coronavirusnow.com. Thanks so much for joining us.